Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into an absolutely fascinating engineering proposal that literally sounds like science fiction, but I promise you it's 100% real. We're going to explore how to completely supercharge a standard vertical access wind turbine and turn it into a multifunctional, high-yield, off-grid powerhouse. If you're at all into renewable energy, off-grid infrastructure, or just brilliant mechanical engineering, you are definitely in the right place. So let's jump right in. Think about traditional wind turbine mechanics for a second. Usually, when we want to crank up the power output or deal with different wind speeds, we rely on these incredibly complex mechanical gearboxes. But gears are heavy, they need constant maintenance, and worst of all, they break. So here's the big question. Can we massively boost a wind turbine's power without adding any mechanical moving gears at all? Imagine generating way more electricity just by manipulating the shape of the wind itself. To answer that, here's our roadmap for today. First up, the 3-tier Stator upgrade. Then, the physics of power boost. Third, real-world output upgrades. Fourth, building an off-grid hub. And we'll wrap it up with energy budgets and costs.
Let's start with Section 1, the 3-tier Stator upgrade.
Okay, so instead of bogging down a standard casing with heavy mechanical gears, this new design introduces what's called an aerodynamic gearbox. It basically stratifies the turbine into a 3-tier aerodynamic stator. Picture stacking 3 sets of fins, kind of like a 3-speed transmission, but it optimizes fluid dynamics all the way up the tower's vertical height. It uses these variable camber vanes made of super tough, lightweight polymers like ETFE, all held together by rugged aluminum rings. You're essentially creating different speeds using entirely stationary shapes just to guide the wind.
Moving right along to Section 2, the physics of power boost.
To really understand why this gives us such a massive power boost, we just have to look at the kinetic power formula. Sure, air density and swept area matter, but the absolute hero of this equation is sitting right there in the middle, velocity cubed. Turbine power scales with the cube of the wind velocity. That means even a tiny little funneling effect that speeds up the air before it hits the blades is going to create a massive exponential multiplier in your power. And because of that velocity cubed rule, the funneling effect in the top tier of our new stator creates a fluidic contraction ratio of 1.28. When you cube 1.28, you get a multiplier of nearly 2.1. Think about what that actually means. During a wind gust, this simple, stationary funnel pumps out an astonishing 109.7% increase in power density. You are literally more than doubling the energy purely through aerodynamics, not a single moving mechanical gear to break down. It's brilliant. All right, Section 3, real-world output upgrades. So how does this brilliance translate into daily benefits? Well, it completely changes the cut-in speed, which is just the minimum wind speed needed for the turbine to wake up and start generating power. Your baseline single-stage turbine needs wind hitting about 3.0 meters per second to get going. But this 3-tier upgrade, it lowers that threshold down to just 1.8 meters per second. Because it can capture those much lighter breezes, the turbine actually starts harvesting wind about 2 hours earlier, every single day. When you combine that earlier start time with the high-tier velocity funneling we just talked about, the daily harvests jump by an average of 40 to 48%. On a 30-foot tower, you're adding 9 kilowatt-hours to your daily average. Bump that up to a 40-foot tower, and you're looking at an extra 13 kilowatt-hours a day. But to handle this kind of surge, especially those intense power spikes from the top-tier gusts, the system does require a heavy-duty 5.0 kilowatt permanent magnet generator. Think of it as a reinforced dual-winding engine that safely processes those higher peak currents so nothing overheats or burns out. Which brings us to Section 4, building an off-grid hub. Because we have all this extra power, we can integrate directly into a standard DC bus and add some incredible new capabilities. First, imagine a motorized drone landing and charging substation mounted right up there on the catwalk. That's perfect for automated crop monitoring or remote deliveries. Second, down at the base, we add a rugged, weatherproofed ground enclosure that acts as a power tool and comms charging kiosk. These additions instantly transform the tower. It's no longer just a simple generator, it's a vital off-grid ecosystem. Finally, Section 5, energy budgets and costs. Now, you might be wondering if all these extra gadgets would just totally drain our power budget, but check out the math on this updated 40-foot tower. It's wild. Between the 3-tier wind generation and solar fins, we're producing between 48 and 67 kilowatt hours a day. The drone dock, it only sips about 2 kilowatt hours. The high-drain tool kiosk takes 4, and the micro pumps take just 1.5. These awesome tools take such tiny slices of our pie, leaving us with a massive net of up to 60 kilowatt hours. That is enough to easily sustain 2 to 3 full EV fast charge sessions every day, completely off the grid. And the financial reality? It's just as striking. Adding this whole turnkey logistics package is surprisingly affordable. The drone dock comes in at $4,100. The tool kiosk is $2,700. The high-efficiency converters and breakers add just $1,200. This entire auxiliary upgrade costs exactly $8,000. So for less than 10% of your generated power, you turn a $60,100 basic turbine installation into a $68,100 fully automated logistics hub. I mean, that is just a phenomenal return on investment.
Which leaves us with this final thought. By simply rethinking how we capture the wind, using aerodynamic funnels instead of fragile mechanical gears, we unlock enough surplus energy to power drones, tools, comms, and even electric vehicles right in the middle of nowhere. So, how could autonomous, off-grid networks like this revolutionize remote agriculture or provide instant critical lifelines during disaster relief? The technical brilliance is already here. It's really just up to us to imagine where we deploy it next. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep wondering, and I'll see you next time.